What's up, everybody? So last week, Xbox was riding high on their absolute smash hit, Starfield, and I'm betting they're really happy that they bought out Bethesda. And since then, they've had nothing but high fives and praise. I know with Phil Spencer, and to a much less extent, Jim Ryan, with them being so personable, it's easy to forget that they work for mega corporations. So maximizing profits is and always will be the central objective. So we'll be talking about something that's being hinted at over at Microsoft that might see the goodwill that they got from Starfield erased. But we'll also be talking about some great news that they just received from over the pond. We'll be talking about all that a little later on in the video. And if you want to skip ahead, I'll leave a timestamp here and there will be one in the timeline. I'll see you there. Now, let's talk about some interesting stories that came out this week. It's time for Casual Bites.
You will always remember this as the day that you almost caught Captain Jack Sparrow.
After his career was almost destroyed and Hollywood turned its back on him, it was hard to believe that Johnny Depp would have any desire to return to the big screen. But here we are, and with some very welcoming news. Not only is he rumored to be working on multiple projects, and he's worked on a few projects that have flown under the radar. One of those multiple projects is Beetlejuice 2. I'm more inclined to believe this rumor is true because of the prior relationship that Johnny Depp and Tim Burton have. Not only that, I believe this would be the perfect fit for an actor like Johnny Depp. I'm excited at how this project is shaping up because of the pitch perfect casting. And this is a great segue into our next story. We're going to be talking about the director of Beetlejuice 2, Tim Burton, and his comments on his version of Superman being included in The Flash. So you may not know, Tim Burton was set to direct a Superman starring Nicolas Cage. With 2 years in pre-production, it was ultimately scrapped. But fast forward 25 years or so, and Tim Burton's Superman makes a cameo in The Flash. And during an interview, he gives his thoughts on the inclusion. Quote, "They can take what you did, Batman or whatever, and culturally misappropriate it, or whatever you want to call it. Even though you're a slave of Disney or Warner Brothers, they can do whatever they want. So in my latter years of life, I'm in a quiet revolt against all this." Now, that is a brutal rejection of those studios and how they operate, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of people in his position have similar thoughts. He goes on to say, quote, "I can't describe the feeling he gives you. It reminded me of when other cultures say, don't take my picture because it's taken away your soul. What it does is it sucks something from you. It takes something from your soul or psyche. That is very disturbing, especially if it has to do with you. It's like a robot taking your humanity, your soul." I'm not gonna lie, that is kind of the perfect way to describe it. But even though we may never see Tim Burton take another crack at it, it's awesome to imagine what that finished project could have looked like. Last in our entertainment block, Karl Urban, who's been in a ton of movies, but right now he's best known for his role in The Boys as Butcher.
Just quit being a cunt, that's what I'm saying.
But once upon a time, he was the fan favorite to pick up the adamantium claws from Hugh Jackman when he finally stepped away from the role. But since Hugh Jackman stepped back into the role, the obvious play here is to make Karl a variant of Wolverine in Deadpool 3. Now, the hype for this movie went off the rails a long time ago when all the rumors of the cameos that were supposed to be taking place came out. Knowing Ryan Reynolds, he's trying to make all of this happen, and I do feel like his heart is in the right place. But at what point does it move from stacked cast to a bloated one? Switching gears into gaming, the author of Fables, Bill Willingham, on which the Telltale series The Wolf Among Us is based, has opened his creation up to the public, which means legally, you or I can create our own story in that universe with those characters. Bill Willingham wrote on his Substack, quote, "As of now, 15 September 2023, the comic book property called Fables, including all related Fables spin-offs and characters, is now in the public domain. What was once wholly owned by Bill Willingham is now owned by everyone for all time. It's done, and as most experts will tell you, once done, it cannot be undone. Takebacks are neither contemplated nor possible." Now, he continues on in this article, giving a brutal condemnation of how Warner Brothers treated him, and I urge everyone to take a look at the article by Vicky Blake over at Eurogamer because she goes into all the details. It's an amazing read. But to summarize, he says this is in response to Warner Brothers not honoring their contract, interpreting it in a way that only benefits Warner Brothers. And as this relates to The Wolf Among Us, he received no royalties, and they wouldn't even let him look at the script for the game. Now, this is a good and proper way to stick it to Warner, especially at a time when they literally cannot afford any bad press. And I, for one, am shocked that a big studio would act like this.
I am shocked. Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
Now, I don't think this is indicative of all large corporations. Warner Brothers is isolated because they are a studio in decline, but that definitely doesn't excuse their behavior towards their creators. So, to Warner, I say good luck with the DCU.
That was also sarcasm, since apparently now we're saying whenever we do it.
Now, if the trailers for Spider-Man 2 haven't got you hyped, take a look at these two clips.
Speaking of our heroes, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 will introduce the ability to switch between the two wall crawlers in the open world. And, thanks to the power of the PlayStation 5, you can make that switch almost instantly. All these activities, including crime to stop from the game's various enemy factions, also now feed into the new District Progress system, which even provides more rewards and unlocks our brand new fast travel system. As you can see here, the PlayStation 5 and its SSD means you can move across the city with very little downtime.
So these two clips show how switching between Peter and Miles works and how fast travel will work. I mean, no more doing tricks on the subway. You'll literally just drop in where you want to go. In my opinion, when you're making a sequel for a game, it's best to do it in incremental improvements. That way, it's familiar to the old fans, and new fans can enjoy the old and new features and not feel like they missed out on a ton. So bravo to Insomniac, they're doing very good work over there. And now let's move into our main story. Since it was announced back in January of 2022, the Microsoft acquisition of ABK has been under scrutiny from the antitrust officials of the UK and the US, and not to mention hardcore PlayStation fans. And here we are today in September of 2023, the US antitrust department have been roundly defeated, allowing Microsoft to advance to the final boss, the UK's CMA.
But let's just give this one last go.
The CMA's apprehension lied with Microsoft's very solid cloud gaming, which left eyebrows raised because they are not even the leader in that category. However, Microsoft still revised the proposal, and this is how Arnout van de Velde over at WCCF Tech explains it. According to Microsoft's vice chair and president, this deal will transfer the cloud streaming rights for all Activision Blizzard titles released over the next 15 years to Ubisoft. Part of the deal is that Activision Blizzard games cannot be exclusive to Xbox Cloud Gaming and will be on other consoles. Under the restructured transaction, Microsoft will not be in a position either to release Activision Blizzard games exclusively on its own cloud streaming service, Xbox Cloud Gaming, or to exclusively control the licensing terms of Activision Blizzard games for rival services. Now, how I understand that is that they are free and clear to make these games exclusive to their console versions, just not to their cloud versions. Now, I might be wrong on that. Definitely leave your opinions in the comments. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be really interesting to see the full context and full outcome once the deal is finalized. And here's a little bit of bonus content. Did you see the Xbox leaks? It was absolutely nuts. We got pictures and features of Xbox's mid-gen refresh console and a new controller they developed. Improved specs on both, especially in the memory category, with the console including 2 freaking terabytes of memory. But if you looked at the pictures, what caught my eye the most was the design. For me, this really hits the mark. And with the controller, you get removable sticks, it's more repairable than its predecessors, and haptic feedback. All very dope. Now we move on to the less dope part of Microsoft's week. Hitting part 2 of the main story, the corporate vice president of gamer experience, which is ironic since she's the one hinting at bringing advertisements into Xbox games. Now you may say that mobile has advertisements in their games, and to that I would say sure, fair enough. But I would also like to say that that marriage is baked into the agreement. Plus, everyone hates ads. Here's her quote from the Rolling Stone. We talk a lot about Game Pass because subscription is the latest option that we scaled. You have to pay to play. Then there was free to play. And then we introduced Game Pass. We've talked about how we're experimenting with other models. Like what does it mean for advertising in games, which is more prevalent in mobile? Are there models for that work well in PC and console? Are there other models where you might have time slices of games and stuff like that? Providing creators with options and choice enables them to experiment and do what they like, and actually create more immersive and creative experiences without having to fit into a mold. Now, if we break that down, if you saw some of the leaked emails, you know that part of the reason that the investors gave Xbox the green light to acquire Activision was because of their advertisement network. Needless to say, if they start putting advertisements in their games, it could be catastrophic for Xbox, which is such a shame since they had a really good week this week. But this will certainly put a little rain on their parade. But let me know what you think about that and all the other topics that we covered in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and we're still trying to get to 1,000 subs before the year is up, so don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next Sunday, but until then, keep it casual. Peace.